Hello, my name is Tina Madeline. I am the founder of uLEAD to Lead Network and your host for uLEAD podcast. Listen, thank you so much for tuning into another episode. I am so excited to be walking this journey with you all. I'm so excited that you would tune in and that you would just be a part of this journey and allow us to be a part of yours. So for the past 2 episodes, we've been talking about casting vision, making plans and setting goals for the year ahead or for whatever season that you're in. And so we're still riding that same wave, as we're just encouraging each other to walk the journey of leadership. So in the just ended year, 2023, I was in a conversation with a group of people and we were talking about just assessing the year 2023, assessing the goals that we had set down and what we had managed to do, what we had failed to accomplish. And we're just asking each other, so what do you think are the reasons for, what you managed to achieve and the reasons for what we failed to achieve, for not being able to achieve the goals that we had set down at the beginning of the year? And several answers were given, but one thing that kept coming up was the failure to keep track of goals. So the failure to keep track of the vision that was set at the beginning of the year. You know how it is. You set your goal at the beginning of the year and, you run with them January, February, but like March, you've forgotten, life has gotten in the way and you're doing something that is totally different, or you're just trying to keep up with life, right? Or something new has come up and that it's overshadowed the vision that you had set at the beginning of the year. These are things that are completely normal. They happen even to the best of us, right? So forgetting about a resolution, getting too busy with the day-to-day of life, sometimes we end up losing track of the goals that we have set for ourselves at the beginning of the year or at the beginning of a season, right? So these are normal scenarios. They happen to all of us. So the question is, how do we keep track of goals? How do we make sure that we stay in the right path and we're not being diverted and our focus is not being shifted from what we have set our hearts towards achieving? So this is what we're going to be looking at in this episode. I'm going to talk about 2 main things that I feel will be really impactful. If you're able to apply these, this 2024 is going to be the year that changes everything in terms of how you achieve your goals. And so point number 1, have an anchor goal. And that means that have one big goal that is at the middle of everything, and every other goal that you have kind of branches off of that. Do not try to do too much. This leads to being overwhelmed, right? So if you have one anchor goal that's like in the middle and you have everything that's leading off of that, that means that everything that you are doing is leading towards the achievement of the main vision, right? So this leads, when you try to do too much or when you try to have too many goals that you're trying to achieve, you're only human. You're not able to do all that. It leads to you feeling overwhelmed, which leads to stagnation, poor decision making, and even anxiety. When I think about this in my own life, whenever I try to do too much, I always, best believe, end up feeling anxious and end up not doing anything at all, right? What's that saying that says that a jack of many trades is a master of none, right? So you need to master one thing. Focus on one goal and make sure that every action step that you are taking is leading you towards the achievement of that main goal. Have one major goal, smaller action points leading up to it. So for example, I promised that I would make this very, very easy and applicable in your life. Last December, I decided that I want to start a fitness and wellness journey. And I tried this in the past, right? Where I would be like, okay, I'm going to start running. I'm going to start doing cardio. I'm going to do everything and I'm going to live a healthy life. I'm going to start eating good. And somewhere along the line, I would always stop and, I would just end up relaxing and not doing anything about it. And I'll eventually lose sight of the main goal, which is for me to be fit and healthy. And so what did I do this past December? And this is something that I actually did without thinking of, but it's something that I then looked back at and I was like, wait a minute, I applied this principle of having an anchor goal. And what I did was, because I didn't want to try and do everything at once, because what I realized was I was trying to do too much at the same time. So what I did was, the first couple of days, I was like, okay, first thing I need to do is to sort out the time that I wake up. And so what I did was I started waking up earlier than usual, but I wouldn't wake up and do anything. I would just wake up and read a book and just make sure that I'm up early, make sure that I sleep early. And I just kind of shifted the times that I would be awake, right? And then the second week, what I started to do was I would wake up early, and then instead of staying in my room or staying in the house, I would wake up early, and then I would go outside. I'll go sit outside with my book, meditate, reading my Bible or doing whatever. And then after that, a week later, I started waking up early and going for a walk, right? So I'd go for a walk for an hour. And then after that, about a week has passed. And then I started introducing jogging and running. And then I introduced cardio. So everything was bit by bit by bit. This is what we call staggering. You have to stagger your goals. Don't try and do everything at once. Don't try and go all in at once. Like for example, if you're fasting, that you don't start by doing 3 days and 3 nights. It doesn't work that way. You will collapse. So what you need to do is you start with maybe 1 day, and then 2 days, and then 3 days, and then 4 days, right? To make sure that your body's acclimating to the new conditions. And so learn to stagger your goals: personal goals, organizational goals, family goals, marriage goals, whatever goals that you have. Make sure that you stagger them. Make sure you have one big goal in the middle, that all your action points, all your steps are leading towards the realization of that goal. And then number 2, and I feel like this one is very important: don't start on a new goal until the first one is done, unless they are complementing one another and the one cannot function without the other one. But always try to make sure that you never start a new thing before the old thing is finished, because it'll end up overshadowing, or you end up exerting too much energy in one area that the other one ends up lacking. This can cause you to lose track of progress, and in the end, nothing gets done. And so the main reason why some people may feel a bit resistant with this one is because we feel that we're living life on a deadline. And I want to tell you something: you are not in a race with anyone in this life. It's just you and the goals that God has set before you, and you just have to walk that journey, run that race, but never feel like you are competing against anyone, right? There's no need to try and do so much in such a short space of time. I feel like I said this before, but I'm just going to keep on saying it, hoping that it will get in there into your system and you'll be able to digest it and apply it, and know that you are not in a race with anyone, and don't try to do so much in such a short space of time. Now, I'm not talking about being reckless and irresponsible with time management, right? You still need to be responsible with your time management. But what I'm saying is, don't be in a rush to do everything at once. We look at God when he created the earth, 6 days, and on the 7th day he rested, right? God doesn't need to rest, but he did it anyways, right? 6 days, and then he took the time to rest. What was he doing? He was staggering his goals. And then we look at Jesus. There's this one preacher that I heard say that if Jesus wanted to run around doing everything, I mean, he literally had a deadline. He had 3 years to do his ministry, right? But still, the Bible, never do we see in the Bible it's saying that Jesus ran to Galilee. It's always Jesus walked to the next place. Jesus walked to the next place. He was walking. So I want to encourage you that as you are staggering your goals, as you are walking through life and trying to achieve your goals, don't let anything get in the way, but instead find the pace, right? Find the pace of grace, as that preacher said it. So this is what we're talking about in this episode. And I feel like we keep on coming back to this one thing, to this one word, and that's trust. And the reason why I feel like we keep on coming back to this is because if you look at the title of the name of our network, Led to Lead. It's talking about leaders who are not leading out of their own strength, but they are being led by the Holy Spirit to lead teams, to lead organizations, to lead ministries. So you are being led by God to lead, right? And one thing that is very, very important when it comes to leadership is trust, right? People must trust you to lead them. At the same time, you must trust God to lead you. So I feel like we're coming back to this whole thing that sometimes when we are rushing to get to the next thing is because we don't trust that God can do it. So we're trying to do it out of our own strength, right? So what am I saying? What I'm saying is you need to trust. Just have one anchor goal, focus on that, stagger your goals, and have small action steps that are leading to the realization of this big goal, trusting that God will do it in the right time and you're not in a race against anyone. So we come back to this word, trust. It is what differentiates a Christian leader from a non-Christian leader, whether you're leading in the secular space or even in a church, in a religious space. That is what differentiates you from any other leader that is not led to lead. It's that trust. So allow God, trust God to pace your steps. Trust God to give you the rhythm for your leadership and for your life. Just trust that God will give you a pace. The children of Israel, when they were going around Jericho, they could have done it all in one day, just gone around and then the walls would have fallen. But instead, they went around the first day, the second day, the third day, all 7 days of the week, right? So trust God and pace yourself, or rather ask God to show you the pace. So this is today's episode, keeping track of your goals. So what did we learn? That number one, have an anchor goal. One big goal where all your action steps lead up to. Number two, don't start a new goal until the first one has been achieved. When you do this, you'll be able to keep better track of your goals and you'll be able to achieve or realize the vision that God has placed in your heart for 2024 and for every other aspect of your life. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Tina Madeline. This is uLEAD podcast brought to you by Led to Lead Network. Make sure you follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Send us an email, comment on our posts, and let's interact and keep in touch. So thank you so much for tuning in. And now go and be the leader that God has called you to be. Bye.